A sixth victim has been identified from that deadly plane crash that happened on Lake Coeur d'Alene Sunday. Plus, the Idaho State Board of Education just released a draft of their plan to reopen schools in the fall. We'll go in depth on what you need to know.
Cloudy skies and temperatures below average today, but I'm tracking much warmer weather ahead for part of the weekend. Your 10-day forecast is next.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I'm Whitney Ward.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Mark Hanrahan. Let's get right to our breaking news at this hour. A small area around downtown Spokane's First Avenue and Madelia are blocked right now. That's after reports of a shooting. Let's get straight to our Tim Pham, who's live at the scene. And Tim, what can you tell us?
Well, Mark, I can tell you that Spokane police just gave us an update about 5 minutes ago, and they tell us that the man that was shot was actually shot in the leg twice, and he was found in the front lawn of this apartment complex here. You can see that there is still a heavy police presence at this hour, and we actually just saw them launch their drone. And as we've reported in previous stories, that drone is used to create a virtual scene so then they can use it as evidence later on in the investigation process or in court proceedings. So forensic unit also just arrived on scene not too long ago. But again, what we know right now is that one person was shot earlier this afternoon around 2 o'clock. This afternoon near First and Madelia, which is south, 1 block south of East Sprague Avenue near the post office. Major crimes detectives are also applying for a search warrant. They tell us that they did enter an apartment complex, but as soon as they found out that there was no other victims, they had to leave until they could get a search warrant to enter and continue their investigation. At this hour, First and Madelia is still on lockdown right now. Everyone in the apartment complex, they are being asked to stay inside while police continue to conduct interviews and figure out what happened. They tell us that right now there is no suspect information, but the gunshot wound was not self-inflicted. So they are, in fact, they say that it was from someone else. So again, as soon as we learn more information about this, we're going to bring you updates here on KREM 2 and inside the KREM 2 app. For now, reporting live in Spokane, I'm Tim Pham, KREM 2 News.
All right, Tim, thank you very much. In other news, we are learning more about some of the challenges facing crews searching for victims on Lake Coeur d'Alene following Sunday's deadly mid-air collision. 8 people are believed to be dead after 2 planes collided above Lake Coeur d'Alene, and tonight, crews are still looking for the bodies of 2 victims. KREM 2's Taylor Veto has been following this story. He has more on how searchers are dealing with the hardships. Taylor?
Well, the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office says this search effort has been emotional for their sonar team. That team understands that families are suffering. As a result, they're doing everything they can and putting in some long hours. As the sonar team pushed off from downtown Coeur d'Alene Wednesday afternoon, one of their colleagues described what it's been like for the deputies searching for the remaining victims.
It's fatiguing, it hurts your eyes, they're out there for long hours.
For the third full day, the sheriff's office went back out on the water looking for 2 more people involved in a deadly plane collision above Lake Coeur d'Alene over the weekend. The sonar team has found 6 victims so far. They've battled unfavorable winds and equipment failures. Team members can't see what they're looking for with the naked eye. They have to rely on their tools submerged over 100 feet below the surface.
Working with the sonar team and doing that job is very strenuous on you, mainly because you're focused on a very small screen. You're looking at a very small area, and that's all you can look at.
The team will often work into the night, authorities said, since they don't need daylight for the underwater work. And the later it gets, the less boat traffic remains on the lake. The sheriff's office has said the team will do whatever they can to find the remaining victims. They want to wrap up this step in the recovery process.
It's very emotional for them. They want to bring closure to the family too, just as much as everybody else does.
And the sheriff's office said they didn't have a firm timeline on how much longer the sonar team will be in that area searching for the final victims. They did say, though, that it'll be up to the team to determine when they've done everything they can. Once that happens, though, the scene will then be turned over to federal investigators and a private contractor who will be responsible for removing the plane wreckage from the lake. Alongside Lake Coeur d'Alene, Taylor Veto, KREM 2 News.
Taylor, thank you very much. And one of the planes involved in the crash was a Cessna from Lewiston, but flew out of Felts Field in Spokane on Sunday. It was carrying a couple of people. One of those people was identified by family members as Jake Hawley. The second person has not yet been identified. This story is still developing. For more on this story and to receive live updates on the plane crash, just text the word crash to 509-448-2000 and we'll send a link directly to your phone with the latest information. Whitney?
Well, new guidelines coming in today about what school in Idaho may look like when we get back into the fall. And with the pandemic, of course, districts are trying to figure out what that new normal will look like, including how classes are going to be taught. Regina Ahn has been following this story. She joins us now live with the latest. Regina?
Well, Whitney, the biggest takeaway is Idaho students can expect to return to school buildings in the fall. And today, the governor's office and the Board of Education released a plan to provide local school districts with guidance for reopening their schools. We do want to mention that while the framework outlines expectations, it's not a binding legal document, nor does it answer all of the aspects of reopening schools. Until a vaccine or a better treatment option is created, Idaho schools will need to prepare different types of learning methods. That includes traditional in-person classes, a hybrid model, so a mix of in-person and online, as well as an extended distance learning plan. So here are the main takeaways from those three categories. First up, category 1, it's called the preparedness phase. That's when there is no community transmission. And in this phase, that's when school buildings should be open for in-person classes. But of course, everyone still has to practice physical distancing and schools need to up their sanitation. Masks are recommended but not required here. Okay, next, category 2. That is when there's minimal to moderate community transmission. During this stage, school buildings may be open, but also may choose staggered schedules to create more physical distancing. Masks are recommended here when practical, but they're also considering face shields for younger students. When physical distancing cannot take place, they will reinforce face coverings. Then there's category 3. That's when there's substantial community transmission. The state outlines that this is when there's a large-scale community transmission and healthcare staffing is significantly impacted. So in this case, if hospitals are nearing or exceeding capacity, schools would then look to short-term or extended online learning. The draft also includes guidance on what to do if someone tests positive for the coronavirus. The key takeaway there is schools should be ready regardless, and they may have to close for a period of time. And of course, it's a case-by-case situation, which is also based on instruction from local health leaders. Governor Brad Little will address these guidelines tomorrow morning, and for more information, you can text schools to 509-448-2000, and we will send you a link. Live in the newsroom tonight, Regina Ahn, KREM 2 News.
All right, Regina, it's a lot to digest. Thank you very much. The Washington Interscholastic Activities Association, otherwise known as the WIAA, announced a delay for fall sports. That means those sports like football will now be starting in September. So the board of directors decided that football is going to be starting specifically on September 5th. All other sports will start on the 7th. And to address if any further delays will be necessary, also the WIAA is saying those dates will allow for games to start as early as September 18th. But you've got to remember, all of this is subject to change. The WIAA plans on making another statement later in July on the 22nd as it continues to monitor the impact of this coronavirus pandemic. Mark?
Thank you, Whitney. Well, the week started out a little cooler than average, but things are heating up for the weekend. Let's get to Chief Meteorologist Tom Sherry joining us from the Outdoor Weather Center. Tom, it looks like maybe they got a little bit cloudy in the last half hour or so out there.
Yeah, we've had some clouds, kind of intermittent sunshine or some passing cloud cover. Right now the sun has jumped behind one of the clouds, but gosh, I was out here about 4 minutes ago and it was bright sunshine. So really just depends as the clouds kind of move over. Look for decreasing clouds though later tonight. And when you take a look at the satellite and radar picture, really it's only northeastern Washington and northern Idaho that are seeing that cloud cover. Pretty much from Spokane to the south and Spokane to the west, we're seeing mostly clear skies, and it looks like that's going to be continuing. 72 degrees, that is the current temperature. You can see the winds are very, very light, all in the single digits out of the southwest. Day planner forecast, as I mentioned before, calling for decreasing cloud cover. We'll look for an overnight low of 53 degrees under mostly clear skies. We'll start out tomorrow sunny, but then we'll see increasing clouds developing throughout the afternoon hours, and could even see some showers in areas of north central Washington, although not expected expected here in the Spokane and Coeur d'Alene and surrounding areas. Boy, for the weekend, Saturday's a hot day, 87 degrees, or we'll call it very, very, very warm. How's that? 87 the high. A cool front moves in on Sunday. It'll become windy. We'll see increasing clouds, a chance of a few afternoon showers, and a daytime high of 77. I'll check your all-important 10-day forecast coming up in just about 10 minutes.
All right, Tom, and if you're asking me, 87 is in fact hot. Thank you, sir. Spokane Mayor Nadine Woodward has issued her first ever veto. She rejected an ordinance that would ban the use of so-called mosquito devices. They emit a high-pitched noise that can only be heard by people under a certain age. City Council banned them in public areas because of the effect they can have on young people. But some downtown businesses say they are useful for warding off troublemakers or loiters. The mayor sided with those businesses, saying they need every bit of help they can get right now, but she did indicate she could be open to revisiting the issue in the future.
We need to let the downtown precinct open and be impactful and give it some time to make a difference downtown. And that's something that I was willing to offer up to the council. That was part of our discussions before.
Today, some of the council members who voted for the ordinance indicated they'd be open to such a compromise as well. That would require a new ordinance to be proposed. 3 council members voted against the original bill. One of them would have to change their minds to override the mayor's veto. We'll keep you posted on that one. Now to a fire alert. Good news to report about the Saddle Mountain fire near Mattawa. It is now 90% contained. That's according to the Washington State Fire Marshal. As of last night, that fire had burned about 10,000 acres. Right now, there are no evacuations in place or structures damaged. Right now, the fire line is holding and the crews have not reported any new hot spots. That fire started Monday afternoon and the cause remains under investigation. Today, fire crews also working to put out a fire in Okanagan County that's burned about 500 acres. The state DNR tweeted that the fire started yesterday just above Omak and is now being called the Pothole Fire. As of last night, crews were continuing to build on secured lines. They're also mopping up and putting out some remaining hot spots. Still ahead.